Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where our purpose is to help create a better future. Learn from our world's experts how to improve your organisation sustainably. Learn how to achieve and sustain an excellence journey for yourself, others, and the planet.
I'm your host, Brad Jennings, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. Welcome to episode 13 of the Enterprise Excellence Podcast. I'm so pleased to have with us on this episode Willy Wijnands, a teacher of over 44 years and founder of EduScrum and co-creator of Lightschools. Willy is passionate about building trust, freedom, teamwork, engagement, and personal development in the classroom. Willy has focused his career on developing the classroom of the future for our generations to come. Willy, through his work with EduScrum, has defined a way to bring the best practices of Agile that so many of our largest organisations have used to create high-achieving, innovative cultures to the classroom. I'm so looking forward to this conversation and learning from Willy. Let's get into the podcast. Thank you, Willy, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you that you invited me. It was a nice call. We had yesterday and today. Okay, we go and get to the podcast and let's go.
Thanks, Willy. Willy, I'm keen to go right back. What initially brought you into teaching? You've been a teacher for 44 years. What initially got you into teaching?
Now, initially, I always loved children. But when I going into the study, I studied chemistry. And when I was finished with chemistry teaching, I don't like chemistry anymore. So I stopped with chemistry. I was finished with my degrees. And then I'm looking for a new job. So I started to go working on a school to come in contact with the students. That is what I love. And then I found my passion. I love children, I can educate them, and then I use chemistry only as a tool to be involved with the students.
Wow, so it's a deep passion for being able to help and educate the younger generation.
Yeah, that was for me the most important point when I see students, little kids from between 11 and 18 or 19 years old. I see them grow as a person, and that is what I love to do. And that is also my passion in my work. It is not about chemistry. It is about see the grow of the students, how they perform, how they develop themselves, how they get the best out of it. And what I do for that, I give them a safe environment in my classroom.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's a really just cause. Willy, what do you believe is most important in education today, and how's it changed since your early days in teaching?
That's a good question. When I look back after 44 years, for me, it doesn't change much because I always trust my students, always. I never give homework. When I started in the beginning, I never give homework. And with EduScrum, the homework, what I don't give either, the students give it by themselves. So I didn't change a lot. In the beginning, I don't talk my first classes. I don't talk about chemistry. I talk about who are you, who I am, what I expecting you from me, what I expecting I from you. So that is the discussion, the first lesson. I talk about safe environment. I talk about trust. And the most important thing, I love freedom. And I love freedom, and I believe fully in trust. Trust is for me the highest value. Yeah, for me the highest value in the world, in relationship, in students, and of course give them freedom to learn what they want to learn.
Wow, so these have been tenets that you've had in your career from the beginning.
Yeah, that is for me a normal thing, a normal human being thing.
Yeah, that's neat. Willy, how did you get involved with Agile and Scrum? What brought you into that sphere?
That's also a nice story. In 2011, I was on a barbecue with a friend of mine and some family, and we drinking beer. And one of my friends talk about he had just the whole company of the company was trained by Jeff Sutherland, and the whole company, 150 people, get a training for 2 days in Scrum. So, and the guy, he explained me on an H4 paper how a flip works, how Scrum works, and I was he get my interest in it. I think that could be a very good way to make the work the students do transparent. And that was also one of my biggest impediments. How can you guide, how can you support the students without controlling them, and also to control them, but not in the controlling way, but in an open, transparent way. And I didn't find a tool yet what makes it very transparent. And for me, the Scrum Flip looked very great for me. And I started in September 2011 with one class as a tryout. It was students of 12 years old. And what happens in that class, it happens a kind of magic. The students were more engaged. They are enjoying coming into the class. I give them a lot of freedom and space. So, and what happens there was almost incredible. It's not to say it was awesome. No, it was really a big change. And 6 weeks later, I started to get it more to 3 other classes. And when that happens, I add also 1 extra class. And when I worked with 4 classes at that time, and then I add also 4 extra classes. And then for me, it was a lot of jumping into the deep, but the dynamics was great. And I lost my control of my students, of course, but I get the control back because they put their work on the flip and I show what they are doing. To do busy done and this kind of stuff. And that it was clear to me. And one of the students say, when they had to do the performance as an example, first class students, 12 years old, work as a team. And the students say, I asked the students, next week you have to do the end presentations. And they say to me, Willy, we are in charge, not you. We know what to do. So please let us work. So that was also confronting for me. And there was only students of 12 years old. And that was what I had to learn to let them loose, trust what they are doing. And that is a big.
What were the big outcomes you saw, Willy? Like, I'm keen to go deeper into how you implemented it and what you did, what it looks like. But what were some of the big outcomes that you saw from prior to bringing Scrum and Agile into the classroom to after those first 4 classrooms were up and running?
What I see that the students are joining and working together. They have fun. They are dependent on each other. They are talking with each other in another way. What I also see that the students, that I have to tell something before. When I make teams out of, based on different qualities. So a team must have different qualities together in one team. And I don't choose the teams. The teams will be chosen by the teams by themselves, but with the criteria, there must be a mixed team for boys and girls. That's one. When there is no problem, sometimes there are cultural problems, but when there is a mixed team for boys and girls, and another point is that as much as possible qualities and skills must be in the team. So that was all. And then they choose their team and they're going on to work. And one of the retrospectives is not only on the project, on the product, subject or product, what they have to deliver. That is the Scrum way, but my way of retrospective is also about that personal development and the team development. What do they discover by themselves and what do they discover within the team and what do they learn from each other? But that was my one of the retrospectives what I use, and also questions about do you have trust in yourself, or do you trust in your teammates? And I can tell you students are very open and honest to give reply to them.
Well, so you've got this real system of review happening as well as actually the kids being in teams and executing their own teaching and development through teamwork.
Yeah.
Willy,
and the teamwork is also about the teamwork. I explain why teamwork is so important. Not do the trick fun about make mixed teams and then going to work. Now I explain why, and I don't explain it. I talk with them about Why is teamwork so important? So there's a discussion, and it takes time. So with this teamwork and make it in a kind of a negotiation talk with the students, they become owner. So I'm not the boss anymore of the students. I am a coach for them, and we are on the same level. And that is what I think. That is what students feels, that I don't order them. I give them an assignment, and they can work in their own pace. And of course, there are also students in the beginning who don't like it, or students who are too lazy. But that will resolve in time, that because the students don't accept lazy students in that team. What is normally when you make teams before Scrum, we had teams where students doesn't work, mostly girls and some boys are working very hard, and one or two boys, mostly good boys, sorry for the discrimination, but mostly they are a little lazy. And within the team, and with the reflection within the team, they become transparent. They did become transparent too.
Wow, that's amazing. So it becomes self-governing in a way. It must be a lot better for the children, but also for the teacher. I've known a number of teachers in my life, and it's not an easy job.
It is for me an easy job, but I can imagine that it is a very hard job. Why is for me easy? Because I love my kids and I want to see the grow in my kids, and that is what I do. I teach chemistry because it is in the curriculum. I must educate them to the exams, this kind of stuff that I have to do. But the way how I do it is through their personal interest. I ask them, what is interest? What is, for instance, what is in chemistry for you, and why do you need to learn? Why do we need to learn chemistry? So give them a kind of an essence, and not the stupid chemistry equations and this kind of stuff. No, give them a real essence. So why we have to learn chemistry? What is the benefit out of it? Where can we use it for? Make them also critical. So that is also what we are doing. Is in the new way of working. What we're doing, we bring in more soft skills in it. So the collaboration, the communication, critical thinking, and the creativity. And creativity and critical thinking are very important things. And in the old schools, I say creativity wasn't much creativity in it, because the curriculum are very fixed in time boxed. You have to do with this stuff and this of the subject within a fixed time. But when you put give them creativity, give them freedom to be creative, and let them think about the critical thinking about what they are learning, then the students, I say it again, become more owner of what they are doing. They become really interested in what they are doing. They understand what they are doing. And I call this the 4 C's: creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. And a lot of people, you can compare it with 21st century skills. And I can tell you 21st century skills are 15 or 16 skills, but they're in the 4 C's are all included the 21st century skills. 21st century is a little bit in the details. So when you ask me what are the 21st century skills, I say I don't know, because it is too much for me to remember. But when you ask me the 4 C's, I know. And that is interrelated with this 21st century skills. So for me, the soft skills are very, very important. But then you have to have guts and courage to believe in the children, to trust your children. And in the beginning, it takes 3 to 4 classes for 1 hour to get them in the right position to get they can start it. Team formation, explanation of the assignment, and then they are starting by themselves. And mostly the students in the beginning they finish earlier 1 or 2 classes earlier when they start for the first time. When you do it more and more and more, they even finish earlier a whole semester for 6 or 7 weeks. And I talk about 2 or 3 hours in a week. So, and that happens for me the first time 6, 7 weeks earlier. in 2016. And that was amazing, also for me, but also for the students. And after that, I had really the freedom to let them learn what they want to learn about chemistry. And it was really amazing. And also the going into the depth about the theory. They come up with real high level chemistry in it. And but it was their interest. That was their interest, what they want to show. I want to explain to the other students. So, and that happens every year after that with the classes, 6-7 weeks, finish earlier. And that is very good to see. And also I learned from my students at that time because they come with topics what I don't have in my mind, the creativity and freedom, and are in it. That is, I love it. I love this kind of much. But in the beginning, when you start with EduScrum, it takes a lot of time. My role as a teacher changed into a coach or servant leader, but for the students to be the servant. But and it cost, for me, the first 3-4 weeks cost me a lot of energy. Cost in positive way. I'm tired, of course, when you put your energy in it, a lot of energy in it. But then you can not really lay back, but you can, like a helicopter, looking in your classes, what's happening there, and you can give more attention to individuals, students, or individual teams. So your role changed a lot.
Wow. If I think about the typical classroom that I've come across, and you're saying that the students will potentially have their work done 6 or 7 weeks earlier, and then the teacher has time to let them experiment, explore further, and then the teacher gets to play more of a helicopter role where he or she can then deep dive into individual students and really help them or help others grow and develop in other areas. That sounds like utopia.
Yeah. Now I think that is not utopia. I think that is a normal, organical way how human beings are in natural life. And that is normal. And I know that learning, every creature learns, also animals, plants, every living creature learns. That is natural. And we learn from the nature. We learn what you see around yourself. And going to school, a lot of students don't like going to school because they have to learn at that moment, at that time, and etc. the topics, what is in the schedule, school schedule. And when you create an environment, when you could create an environment, when students can come to an environment, like a school, okay, you call it a school, and you go in a school where you have experts, teachers, experts, or parents, or whatever, come to the school, and what do you want to learn? And guide them a little bit in the learning process and ask them questions. And then they are really unstoppable. I did this the last 2 years of my career, last 3 years of my career in my own school. Not my own school, but school where I work. And that was really incredible. You have to send out teams going out of the school because the school was closed. Of course, not all teams, but there were teams, I think 7-8 teams out of 30 teams, 35 teams, were staying at school late, and also in between other subjects, they also were thinking and working on their own project they choose for themselves.
Wow, that's impressive. Willy, can you explain to our listeners, and for listeners that might know about Agile and Scrum at this stage, what would they see if they went into a classroom that was running EduScrum and the Agile approach?
What you can see, what you can really see, you can go to the YouTube channel for EduScrum. There are some videos on it. But what you will see that mostly when I am in a classroom or another teacher in a classroom, I walk around or sitting behind my desk. I going from one team to the other team. You see students working together. They're laughing together. Yeah, and they're working. They're real working. And you can also go out of your classroom to go to another class. It happens sometimes that I have to take care for 2 or 3 other classes because my colleague is sick. So the doors open. So I go to one class to the other class, and they know what they have to do. And and they know then I'm very strict. You know what to do. So please don't cheat me. Then I don't like you. Then you came in my trust area, because I trust you. So I trust that you go on to work. And even when you have a test the next hour for French or English or whatever, and you want to do it in my chemistry class, do it. It's up to you. You are your own owner on your own working process. That the freedom, there they have the freedom, and you have the freedom to work in your own schedule. And then when they don't have finished their work yet, for chemistry in my case, they can do they do by themselves by their homework. They give themselves homework, not me. Sometimes I give advice. Then I say, okay, maybe this is advisable that you do for next time you do this and this and this. And in between their working flows, I teach. I explain sometimes, because only let them work. No, you have to call in between 3 or 4 hours from 1 hour, a kind of review moments where you check is a bad word, but you go and you ask the students what they learned so far. It can be on the product, it can be on the subject, it can be on the personal or team development. When the process is not working well, I'm sitting there by. And when the students ask for questions about some topics, and the topics and the questions are look like the same, okay, then I explain in 20 or 30 minutes. I do the explanation for the whole class. And after that, I do it individually for teams or for individual teams or for students individually.
That's great. And Willy, what process does the actual Scrum team go through? That team that you enable them to put together, but what is the process that they follow in the classroom, and what are the key components to that?
Yeah. So first, you give them assignment. Second, with a very good why in it. Then they form teams. After the team formation, they draw their own flips with the names, the team logo, the to do busy done, with the stories on it, with the celebration criteria. The celebration criteria is the same as acceptance criteria, and my students don't like the word acceptance, but that's also cultural and language. But my students don't like acceptance, so they change it into celebration. Then they make the definition, making working agreements, definition of fun, definition of doing, definition of communication. They make their own rules. That is mostly the left part of the flip. On the right part, they're coming out the working part, the right part, to do busy done, the task, what they made by themselves. They also draw their own run-up chart. The run-up chart is the same as the burn-down chart, but also my students in that year, 2017, they changed it into run-up, because burn-down isn't fun. They don't like it. It was negative, so run-up. And impediments. So the whole ceremonies and artifacts are on the flip. We do the same as Scrum. And the biggest impediment in schools system now are 2 things: curriculum and time. And the time is a block, is an impediment, and the curriculum is, I think, for now in these days, is too much what students have to learn. I don't say we don't need a curriculum. Yes, you need a curriculum, but you can look in nowadays how a curriculum would look like. And then you have to go to the companies and what kind of people they need. And when you look what we educate now students with the old curriculum and old school system. And then they're coming into the companies, and then they have to unlearn things and then learn new things. So when you bring in the students in a kind of an agile mindset, that they are allowed to make failures, that they learn from failures. and that they can be proud on what they are doing, then it is easier to make the step outside to go to the companies. So that will be also a benefit for the companies.
Yeah, it's great. It definitely aligns with where a lot of organizations are looking to take things now and into the future.
Yeah.
Willy, what are some challenges that you have seen in educational institutions adopting EduScrum and Agile?
Yeah, that is a very hard way. When I train teachers in the Netherlands or all over the world, the biggest impediment is to implement it into a school, and don't push the teachers that you have to do this new way of working. No, that doesn't work. Please go select maybe 3, 4, 5 eager teachers who have already an open mindset, an agile mindset, and have the guts to try out some new innovation things, and give them full support, and also involve people from the company in it. And that people of the company, the agile coaches or scrum masters or product owners, involve them and to, let's say, support the teachers fully. And when you have 3 or 4 teachers working together in one school or maybe more schools, then you can use them as an example, that other teachers see, hey, what's happening in the classroom? The dynamics are changing. The students work very hard. How does it come? So you don't only show it. So you get them into a kind of a pull effect, and not push but pull.
You create a beachhead of excellence, really, with teachers that are keen to get involved and create that pull-based approach. That's really neat.
I think that is also what we need, and that the teachers must not afraid that a company guy or woman come into the school and tell something to the students. Make them involved, bring them together, to bring the both best worlds together in a school. And also the way of teaching is not only sending out your information, but make it interactive with your students and negotiate with your students. Ask them questions. You're not the old school teacher anymore who come into the classroom, teach 50 minutes, go out, next 50 minutes, go out. No, make it interactive. And when you work in teams, then there is a lot of interactivity into the class, and the students are not used to it. That they're working together in teams, and the benefits of teams, I don't need to tell it, but the big companies like Google, Apple, or whatever, Spotify work in teams, and the power of teams is incredible. And that you can bring that. You don't need to tell it to the students; they feel it. And you make it explicit when you let them write some retrospective or feedback on the whole process.
I'm guessing too, well, I don't need to guess. I've got a 9-year-old boy myself. They look up to these companies too that are achieving such amazing things using agile techniques.
Mm-hmm. And I think also, why do companies use this agile way of working? Because it works. Otherwise, they would already stop a long time ago. It works. And there's also difference between do agile or be agile. And that is a process what you have to do. Not only go to the Scrum Master course and do the techniques, but you have to feel it. You have to feel it in your body. You have to embody it, that you don't only do it in your work, but in your way of thinking. And it takes time. For some people, it is an aha effect that you say, oh, wow, now I get it. And they already in the split moments are be agile. When I looking back for myself, I train and I teach Aikido since a martial arts since 1979. That's a long time ago. And for me, Aikido is the perfect way of be agile, and also other martial arts. When you're not agile, you fight against a big wall of a heavy person, strong person, and you will lose. But when you go with the flow and let this happen, and see at that moment and act in the right moment, then you will succeed. And that is the same what's happening into the schools and the companies. Act on the right moment, and sometimes you have to wait when the right moment is coming. When you act too earlier in Aikido, you lose. When you are too late, you lose. But also when you act too earlier or to interrupt your students at a bad moment and the wrong moment, and when you interfere there when they are working in a very good pace. But in my mind was already that I planned, now we have to teach this topic. But when I interrupt their workflow, that wasn't the good moment. So you have to be flexible in this when you teach and when you interact.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Willy, you've had 44 years of teaching and helping children, and you've revolutionized bringing Agile and Scrum into education. What are you focused on now? What's your vision for the future?
My vision is the same. I want to empower my students, to empower the students, and that is what I miss now because I don't work anymore in the school since December, and I teach now. I train now EduScrum all over the world, and now I have another kind of students that are the teachers. So what I want to do is to bring it in a more broader way to enlighten the more teachers with an agile mindset to help them, to support them to bring it into the schools. That is what I want to do. Next to that, we created kind of a new curriculum, a new school system without a school but without walls, and we called it Lightschools. Lightschools is a school where we try to pick up, or not try, where we now pick up people with the great mindset, bringing together worldwide, and bring their philosophy, what we bring in, and their own philosophy, co-created into their own local schools. And maybe in time, and I hope that we can create real physically light schools. But that isn't not necessary to create physical light schools, but also when we do it online, and this time of COVID, we are forced to do it online. That is also the benefit that we are joining and we connect to the whole world. And what's happening now is since last month, we are now training also not only teachers, what I did before, I train only teachers of schools, primary schools, high schools, universities. We train all the teachers because they speak the language, what's happening into the classroom. Now we are entering also people from the companies. And the training where we are now is a combination of half teachers, half company guys. And that is really great what's happening there. So learn from each other. The company guys and girls learn the language of the teachers. The teachers learn what's happening in the companies. And they are that is also a win-win situation, what's happened there. And for the company guys and girls, we give more extra add-on. That means that we learn them to talk about didactical stuff and pedagogical stuff. Otherwise, they won't be accepted into this school system, because there is another level and level energy of understanding what's happening in the classroom. But in the classroom, the same impediments happens in the companies and around. What the same problems where you encounter in the companies, you see also in the classroom. We are human beings. We are the same. We act the same. And in companies, there are a lot of attention now, fortunately, in a good way. That is personal development, and HR are very important, that we give a personal touch to the people who work in a company. And we did it, I did it with my students, to give them attention to it. And then when you give attention to living creatures, to your animals, to the plants, they grow. Very simple.
Too true. Well, I think the Enterprise Excellence podcast is all about that too. It's about bringing experts from different industries and different backgrounds, because I believe and we believe that we can all learn from each other. We're all human, all have the same challenges and the same goals and aspirations. Willy,
that's what we are doing also is now to bring to what you say about learning from each other, and to each other. Now we are creating a platform, and it calls Agile Living Room, where you come in, where you can enter the room, and you can go on the EduScrum part or the Lightschools part. You create your own portfolio with your expertise, with your working. You can share with the other participants, so you learn from each other. And we have a library, we create a simple library, but the library will fill up by others also. So in the beginning we have maybe 5 tips, and then maybe we have 500 tips. I don't know how it will accelerate, but this platform is kind of a communication platform like Facebook, but not Facebook, but a kind of communication that we're working and learning together to bring, what you say, the companies and the schools together, and the schools into the companies.
Brilliant. Willy, what advice would you give to someone looking to get involved in EduScrum and actually bringing more agility into their school?
Simple to say, take contact with me. I don't want to make a marketing stuff out of it, but take contact with me, and then I can bring you, I can let you contact you with the representatives of different countries, and you can get involved with them. Maybe you can look in schools in different countries and what's happened there, and when you want to implement it in your local situation, talk with your friends about what you see in the educational stuff. How can you support you as an Agile expert? Talk with a friend or an acquaintance of you who work in a school. Go into the school, look in the school, not to teach, but only looking. Feel the energy, feel the flow, and then learn more about it, and going to the teachers or coming to me for more information. I think that is work. And what I say in the beginning is not about pushing things, but pulling. Show. Look what's happening in the classroom. Talk about it. And implement this. And also when you implement it to the school, as a company guy or a teacher or a trainer want to bring it into the school, you need 2 levels of people. You need the teachers and you need management. Not only the teacher, not only the management, but both. So they can feel and know what is that the teacher know we get supported from the management, and the management see what's happening with the teachers. What do the teachers really need? Because they are decide what they do with the budget. And when they see benefit out of it, they are willing to give more benefit, more priority to the teachers.
Thanks for that, Willy. Willy, final question for you. What have you learnt recently about your area of expertise that you didn't know before?
That is what I was surprised in the last few weeks, that what I learned was surprised about the combination of training what I give now for the company and the teachers. That was really awesome what I see for the benefits out of it. I did it before because of the language, because I didn't know the language of the schools, but I say now it is great. And also that everybody in my eyes is a teacher. Everybody is a teacher. My grandchildren are my teachers. My kids are my teachers. Everybody is a teacher. And when there's something happening, first look in the mirror and why, especially young kids are younger, they are the best mirror for you. When something happens and the little kids act in a strange way, for you a strange way, but in an honest way, first look in the mirror. What say I wrong, or what did I wrong? I think, and therefore for me, everybody is a teacher, and everybody can learn something to the other persons.
Well, Willy, thank you for your knowledge that I've gained from you today. I really appreciate the knowledge you shared. It's been amazing. And thank you for helping create a better future for our generations to come. It's really impressive what you're working on.
Thank you, Red. Thank you very much for asking me questions.
And Willy, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you?
They can go to my website, eduscrum.nl, and they can send me an email, and then I ask mostly, please organize a Zoom meeting, then we can interact with each other, and then the next step will happen.
Well, thanks again, Willy. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Brett. Thank you for inviting me, of course.
My key takeaways from this episode is firstly the power of empowered small teams with a clear objective in education. We know this is so powerful in organisations. It's just amazing to see the results in the classroom. Finishing terms 6 weeks early and then moving on to self-directed extension learning. That's truly amazing. The second key insight for me is the pressure that this approach takes off teachers when they really get it running. It gives a teacher time and freedom, allowing them to help the children that are struggling without impacting the others. And the final takeaway for me was the work readiness this provides for these children. You know, they're learning best practices before they even reach the workforce. They're going to be in such demand for these organisations that are looking to be able to achieve and innovate into our future to come. It's truly an amazing program, and Willy has built a really good structure and training approach and development approach to really help schools achieve results. Well done, Willy.